to Conscious Business Zone. This is Kathy Mason, and I am so excited to have you here today and hope that you will benefit so much by meeting Bunny Sings Wolf. Hi, Bunny.
Hi.
So Bunny is an Indigenous leader and grandmother, an artist, a singer, a musician, and now a producer of a new app called Indigenoushealing.io. And so today we're going to be talking about the journey to the new app and the launch of the new app and how it can help all of us and have it right on our phone. So Bunny, do you want to talk a little bit about your journey from all of these amazing facets of creativity, which art, music, song, I mean, you're just amazingly talented, to now an app? What's the, how'd you do that?
Well, in the modern terminology, it would be called insanity.
That's not modern.
I've had to tackle with that my whole life. But when I was a child, songs would come to me. I had a secret imaginary friend. It's this little guy here. I used to describe him as, Mom, it's a great big huge elephant with fur and no trunk and cute little curvy horns, because I'd never seen a buffalo. So my imaginary friend, I tried to describe and I couldn't. But as it turned out, years later, I discovered, oh, that's my imaginary friend. So she's returned. And so anyway, I've been dreaming songs and poems my whole life. So I've never had any kind of practical training in music or anything else, a musical family. So over the years, especially the last 25 years, as I've been rediscovering my Lakota family and connection with the ancestors, I've been just recording these songs that had come in dreams, especially since I moved back to the Black Hills in about 2000 when I moved here permanently. And the songs just every night, 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm waking up. And so consequently, over the last 20 years, I've recorded 10 music CDs. Never been popular, you could look at it YouTube, maybe 5 people have seen them. But before my husband passed away 3 years ago, he was my music producer, and I used to perform and school, teach, do Buffalo workshops. And he said, whatever you do after I'm gone, you've got to honor your music, because the world's going to need this. It's going to be, we're heading for horrible times, and they're going to need the comfort of a natural human voice with no auto-tune and no hype, something just from the natural world, which is where my music comes from. So it's been a tough 3.5 years since I lost him, because we had 37 years of just best friendship, lots of exciting things. And it's all boiled down to about December of last year. Been praying and praying and praying, because 8 years ago I had this dream of a huge global gathering. And it was such a phenomenal dream. When I woke up and told my husband about it, I said, why was everybody afraid to hold hands? It just startled me, because that was the heavy thing in this dream, was people were holding hands and emanating this beautiful love energy in a huge circle around the tree of life. And in my dream, it went viral. Everybody on the planet was looking at their phones and going, oh, that's what I want. That's why I'm not crazy. This is good. I want part of this. And so when I woke up and told him the dream, I said, this was so amazing, because there were people from all over the world in this circle holding hands, and this energy light just kind of shone up on this tree. But it wasn't a tree. It was a tree stump. And long story short, since I had that dream, we had the COVID thing. And then we have all these phones, and I resisted even having an iPhone till about 8 years ago. And my daughter said, "That's the only way you're going to get to see your grandchildren." She didn't say that much. So she basically forced me to get an iPhone. And 8 months ago, then, or last December, I was just online, and I went, some, there's an advertising say you need an app and you can do this in 30 days. And just like a dream, it just fell on me. This is the way I can reach people around the world, because over the last 8 years, I've been trying to get everybody else and their brother to do what this dream said. That was the really amazing thing. Is I went to a lot of people who had money and corporations and computers and the know-how, and I said, wouldn't it be great if we could gather the whole world in one moment, and of course record it, because this was being filmed all around this tree of life, and photographers, and there was a drone or two, and it was a phenomenal event. It just brought everybody on the planet to tears, to stop for just that moment. And I even lost my train of thought because this is so exciting. So anyway,
Well,
it's
this is what I have been saying all along. I've been saying this for probably, I don't know, 10 years, that we're in the dark ages and we're
yeah,
going back to the Renaissance. And part of
yeah,
the Renaissance is the indigenous truth.
yeah,
Because what happened was the indigenous had a peaceful, loving relationship with the earth. They realized we are the earth. They realized we
yeah,
are animals, until we were colonized. And then the
yeah.
colonization imprint was put on everyone, and that was
Right.
survival. But that imprint is being released because it's not sustainable, and we'll be going back to the indigenous ways. So I got to work with a Cherokee elder. I got to do an event with them a couple months ago, a grandmother.
Mhm.
And then I've been friends with Susan Christensen, who did the documentary on the indigenous grandmothers. And then Kate Roberts introduced me to you. So I know there's something with all of this that's going to really bring back truth, because
That's, yeah,
we forgot the truth,
yeah,
the overlay of the programming construct
man,
that we accepted, it's falling apart.
yeah, yeah. And then that's one thing this technology has truly given us, is the opportunity, hey Siri, what about this? And the answer's boom, like that. So there's, oh, no, don't talk to me now, Siri.
Oops.
Sorry.
Oh, that's funny.
Whew,
What do you
that
want,
was a
madam?
close call. She would have gotten into this interview.
Well,
But
so
yeah,
tell us more about the dream, though, because this app is going to have cultural truths, right? From all, is it all different nations? Or are you starting with Lakota because that's your background? Or
yeah, this is where I come from, but it's kind of a really deceiving Lakota, because my grandmother was in the Carlisle Indian School in Pennsylvania, and that's where they chopped off their hair, made them not speak the language, don't talk about your connection to Mother Earth, that's all from the devil. And so, and as you know now, as we know now, and we're learning every day, a lot of children didn't make it through that school, and it was the model for all the other Indian schools, at least on this continent. I don't know about Canada, but Canada had some notorious schools too. And what my grandmother did, I think, to survive was she married a white preacher, and they ended up going to China as missionaries
what?
after she got out of that school. So my mother was born in China, my mother and her brother, and they never saw her mother or father except for twice a year, because they were brought up in an English boarding school. because again, my grandmother, that's all she really knew. I think she had been taken about at the age 8 and forced to go to the school. And, what a trauma so many of us still, I can feel the trauma in my DNA. And I didn't even know I was an 80 native, that I was Lakota for a lot of years. I mean, I knew it in my heart when I was a kid. Used to have dreams about playing a flute and the whole world would be following me on this beautiful path. And wherever we walked, the flowers would bloom. And it was, so I had dreams about this for many, many, many years. But it wasn't until about, I would say 15 years ago or so that I actually made the connection. So, excuse them, that's my doorbell. I don't know who could be coming to see me when it's 2 feet of snow outside.
Maybe
So,
somebody could just shovel your walk for you. Well, they walk through there to.
Maybe I better go quick, real check. Okay.
Okay.
Just a half a second.
Okay. So everyone, Bunny is really talented and has gone with her intuition with music. She has over 400 songs. Let's see. It says has brought over 400 original songs into form through her dreams and recorded them using acoustical guitar, singing, and Native American flute. Oh, you got a present.
Look at that. My little next door neighbor brought me a
that's so nice.
care package.
Oh, that's great.
She's 8 years old. She comes for tea every week. And it's going to be in my app too. I've got her in some hand song things I'm going to be doing. So anyway, where were we? Excuse the interruption.
I wanted to know more about the content that's going to be in the Indigenous app. Could you talk a little bit about what's going to be in there?
I'd love to. And as you so well put earlier in the conversation, we live at a pivotal time. I mean, people are consciously awakening like popcorn all across the planet now. And to see this happen, and all of us know this in our little voice in the back of our head, we're all aware that, for a couple of years, the most spoken word I heard in the world was COVID or pandemic, a fear-based situation, and everybody's terrified by and has been. So there is proof right there. There's already world unity. We're just unified in fear and the toxic disease that it creates in our body. Science is telling us. A lot of people probably died of fear during this time, even more so because now we're learning in science about the placebo effect, that our thoughts are the things that create wellness and disease. We can exercise and diet all we want, but if you have a sad, miserable life, or things aren't going well in our relationships, we're at a job we don't like, there's a doctor who's prescribed or diagnosed something that says you're not going to be here in 6 months or a year, or if you don't do this, this, and this, you're going to have a problem. And all those fears build up and create that reality for us. Right. So we have that oneness now. And so why don't we do a shapeshift? There's a lot of healers around the globe, people who are trying to make a difference, to save the soil, to heal people who've been on drugs and alcohol and gather them and help them. All kinds of recovery therapies. I mean, the list goes on and on. We're all out there. And we all, I think, for me, I can only speak for myself as being a stone medicine healer, that I'd love to be able to heal the whole world. Yes. And we've always had, I'd like to teach the world the sing thing in us, and all through this generation, the Imagine song, Martin Luther King, Gandhi, Mother Teresa, they've all built the foundation for this shapeshift that we're moving towards. And everybody, come on, I don't have to tell you, everybody knows we're moving towards a huge shapeshift of some sort. And us healers are trying to make that or manifest a positive thing of that. And the law of the circle of life tells us that night and day are so important for each other. It's that relationship, just as the poles on a magnet, minus and positive. But in the culture of the colonized, bad, it's evil. The dark is bad. And that's not the case. It's part of the circle. And the sacredness of life and breath and this precious sacred moment is magnified by the fact that in our perception there's an ending to that, or death, or transition. And so a lot of people will enter that with fear. But as you mentioned, there was kind of like a universal agreement, even though the different tribes across this continent were so unique and beautiful languages, different expressions of that relationship with Mother Earth. We all knew and practiced leaving the campground better than we found it for 7 generations forward. And so, as you said, there's a lot of wisdom there. And in the app, I'm going to be putting in not only that perspective, because that's where my heart is and my red blood is from. And I'd like to honor my ancestors and my brother, Richard Grass, and the things he left me with to do in this work. I had no idea what I was getting into. And I say, why me? And the answer comes back, if not you, who? Because I could get nobody else to do this. So 8 months ago, I found an app creation course and started down the road. I didn't even know what DM or PM was in Facebook. The whole thing's just ridiculous. Yeah. So in the app, I'm going to, and I know there's a lot of racism in the world, but especially through our traumatized what's left of us. And we've been called everything from Sioux to Indian to, on and on and on. And then it got to the word indigenous. And now a lot of people are offended by being called indigenous because they want to make sure, like me, I say, I'm Lakota. But because of my background growing up in the white world, my grandmother and my mother and my father would not even mention that there was any Lakota in us. I remembered my mother wrote lots of letters to Aunt Flossie in Canada. I have no how to do that. But anyway, long story short, I don't really look Indian. I was not raised on a reservation with so many of the traumatic things involved with just surviving there. And so there's a lot of competition between, you're not really Indian, or you have to do this or say that, and so of course when I put in Indigenous Healing as the word of the name of the app that came to me, and all this has been done in dreams. I realized, and I've realized this for a number of years, my brother used to tell me, we all have red blood.
Right.
And the traditional spiritual ways of true native people, or indigenous, or whatever you want to call us. So we're all indigenous to Mother Earth. We're all made of soil. We're going to return to the soil.
Perfect.
And just like any good mother would tell you, share your toys, say please and thank you, show respect for one another as family. Right. And everybody on the planet's basically forgotten that.
Right.
So I'm not going to be teaching ceremonies. Don't worry about that, all my brothers and sisters. Yes, there's a lot of rules and regulations. You shouldn't charge for ceremony. Healing is from the Creator, which is absolutely true. We are all just hollow bones that this beautiful wind of spirit moves through. And all we can do is be open and waiting to do the right thing. So what I'm putting in the app basically is proof of the science that backs up why the cultural ways of my people were so beautiful, and why this land was looked upon as pristine when the colonizers came, because certainly nobody could live here. We don't see any pyramids or cathedrals or roads or cities or, big markings on the land. No, because we knew that this land under our feet was part of Creator, part of us. And we need to find a way to live in balance, harmony, abundance, and peace with all life. And so that's what we're all learning. But my goal in the app is to not only use the dream songs that have come to me with the lessons that are so ripe for this time, but also to the whole key behind using an app is to gather healers from around the globe. Everybody that shares this understanding, this awareness, this consciousness, as we're calling it now, or right mental thinking, and to gather us all together for that moment to join around the tree of life. And since I had this dream 8 years ago, I met some more of my relatives from the Lakota perspectives, and someone who worked very closely with my brother. And we met at the Mitakuye, we call it Bear's Lodge, home of bear, with the underlying meaning behind that ancient understanding by Lakota is a home of healing, because bear, pineal gland, powerful medicine animal, keeps connected to Mother Earth as we need to be, and used to show the ancestors the certain plants and medicines to use, the roots and the berries. So home of healing. But of course, colonizers came in after my great-great-grandfather signed the 1868 treaty that promised all this land would be ours until the grass stops growing. Not ours, but we could inhabit it and protect it as we had in the past. But then 2 or 3 years later, all the buffalo had been destroyed, and colonizers had already been there when that treaty was being signed, as the government had already known. So this is not resentment. This is just truth. This is the fact. And so as my people were being moved to reservations and the buffalo were disappearing and there was starvation and disease, they came here to this place 9 miles from my house and renamed our most sacred place, the Tree of Life. And they named it Devil's Tower, because anything coming from the natural perspectives at that time had been thought to be from the devil. Of course, now they justify that as, oh, it was a mistranslation, bad God place. No, we didn't think of anything as being bad. It's just part of the circle, day and night, summer, winter, spring, fall. All those are part of the circle that make all of life so sacred. So I think it's really great, because I found out after I had this dream and trying to get everybody else in the world to do this, that then when I met this woman there, we'd be instantly just like, we saw each other from across the room. And they couldn't get into the tower because they didn't have a card. And I said, no, I'll just take you. And I ended up spending the night. I brought them over to my house and fixed them dinner, and there were 2 of them. And come to find out, she had worked with my brother for years at the United Nations. And I had been longing and praying to learn how to meet anybody that had connection with that work that had been done in the 90s when he was in a really sacred ceremony at Bear Butte, the Osheti, which was a unified way of governance for our Lakota, Dakota, and Nakota nations at the time, still trying to get back to the old traditional spiritual ways, and they appointed him the Grand Treaty Chief above all. And so she was an international lawyer in the military. And so anyway, long story short, we were up there, and she told me the story that her grandmother and great-grandmother had passed on. The Devil's Tower used to be the Tree of Life. And it was a huge tree. I mean, even the stump of it you can see for miles across the prairie. And everybody that I knew that had ever come here said, I can't believe I'm at a place that's called Devil's Tower, because when I'm here, I want to just go up there and pray. It just makes me feel so humble and appreciative of life. I said, don't worry about it. It's a healing place.
Yeah.
What any human calls it. This is the stump of the tree of life. And the woman had told me that thousands of years ago, it was huge. And this is when giants were on the earth. And the giants had a war and it was chopped down. Well, once you get that picture in your head, it doesn't matter whether it's a fable, a story, or just an illusion, or if it's really true, because the Forest Service has about 4 different ways of describing what is this place and why is it so magical.
Is
And
it okay if I show it? Because I can pull up your website and show it so people can see, because it looks just like a tree stump.
It does. Once you get that picture, you can't erase it. And at the Wyoming's Visitor Center, they have these big chunks of petrified wood, and they are called petrified wood. And they look like room-size firewood, flat on the top, flat on the bottom. I mean, Moorcroft is full of it. People decorate their yards with these chunks of petrified wood that look like huge. I mean, it could easily be. But that's beside the point. The tree of life is actually in us. And of course, many mystical beliefs and cultures have always known this, that the pineal gland, or even the chanupa that we have, is representing the head in the clouds and the feet on the land, but the sacredness is within inside us. So this is a place of beauty, because there it is, Matakuye. So the dream, once I realized that, when this woman told me this, I said, I'd already known this, but I just kept denying it. This is the place of the gathering. This is what we need to encircle, and with hands and hearts, all of us healers together, manifesting the love and the peace and the balance and the harmony and the abundance that is there for every living thing on this planet. There is plenty enough for everyone right at this moment. The only thing that's stopping us from manifesting and cuddling down that fear and bringing it down to size, okay, fine, you're there, but we're going to cover this with love and with healing. And this is a healing place. And because it's on our treaty lands, my brother and the ancestors that seem to be talking to me through this whole thing and pushing me ahead, resisting as I go, that this is the place it needs to be. And it'll take about 4,200 people in person. And in the app, I'm hoping I teach those people who are drawn to be here for the physical part of this will be of one mind and one spirit. The oneness needs to be within each of us in a strong and loving, compassionate, inclusive way. We have to let go of our prejudices and change who we are here so that we can change the world. So this is why this temporary webpage you're showing here, before the app should be released here in a couple of weeks. This is so scary. So scary, wonderful. That's what I'm saying. But right now, I'm still just trying to gather a few people so that I don't have to be homeless next week, because I invested every possible way I could to borrow big money and refinance my trailer home, which isn't worth much, but somehow it's so wonderful. It was affordable. I mean, other businesses couldn't start out with this small amount of money to do this kind of a massive work. And what's really awesome is I can still keep my little touch on this. And as people gather, I hope there will be wonderful ways for me to be able to keep track of this, and helpers, because I can't do this myself, obviously. It's going to take all of us, each of us, to reach that oneness, to gather together for this moment, to shape shift the awareness of all the people who are awakening, and us healers especially are going to be encouraged within the app. Work with your tribes, whatever your meditation is, whatever your medicine is, what if you do surgery, if you're um, ER nurse, I mean, all of us, from those very highly dedicated, technically trained people who have felt helpless with this disease we are all suffering from and its results, diabetes, heart attacks. I mean, the list goes on and on. It's literally proved that it's our mindset that creates the stress, that creates the toxic disease. And when we shift our mind, the healing happens. So we become the ceremony. We become the ceremony. And regardless of a person's modality, we're all going to have to keep tweaking our prejudices and um, we've been brainwashed to believe that cultural differences in skin color and languages and nuances are offensive and contrary. That's prejudice. And if we all could just accept ourselves first and not be so mean to ourselves, find that oneness and peace there, then we can start working on all those things that we need to wash out that have been brought here by greedy, fear-based colonialism, and understand there's plenty for all of us and everything's going to work out okay. And when we join at that tower, then people can watch this around the globe at the same time. It'll be filmed everywhere. I don't know the details of this. I spent the first 3 weeks after this dream wondering how many latrines and bottles of water I'm going to have to.
Well,
That's why I wanted somebody else to do this.
well, that's what's so cool is you're a bridge from the knowledge because you had the need to know your origins, which all of us really need to have our origins. That's part of who we are, whether it's from the stars, which is what I believe, or whether it's here, doesn't matter. We all need to know what's in this DNA and work through it to find the love. I mean, we are all in a transition stage from an old high contrast, which you're calling it night and day, to a more peaceful, possibly telepathic future. And we can't be this judgment and this separation that we've been using as our operating system, it just doesn't serve anymore. So what you're doing, and I'm getting chills, I mean, what you're doing is really bringing an opportunity for people to not on looking up on Wikipedia to find out information, but to actually get the knowledge bearers. Because the other thing, I did a event with Omar Fiazi and Susan Christensen brought together a grandmother's circle. And what they did is there was somebody from Germany. I mean, they're indigenous is Irish and French, and
Yeah,
there's indigenous everywhere. And
that's
so we're talking about honoring truth. We're talking
right.
about the knowledge of how to live in peace within yourself first and imagining a different, well, it's almost like her story versus his story. But anyway, but imagining a different reality. Because as you said with the placebo effect, we are very powerful beings. We are affecting everything, but
Yeah,
we lost our imagination, our creativity, our way of working with what works here,
yeah,
right?
yeah. And you mentioned something earlier about we all have to get back to our roots or our family relationship. And I hate to tell you this, but as a webmaster, keeping the Lakota website alive for the last 18 years. When Richard was alive, he says, you need to build this website. And I happen to know how to do that with the programs that were there at the time. So I designed the Lakota Nation website. And it turned into a massive project because he had a whole room of papers, this high. And when he passed away, I filled up my whole basement where I was living, and it took us 3 years, my husband and I, to go through every single one of those papers. But where I built that website and put so much of what was in there, and over the years, I have so many people that call, that email all the time saying, I know I'm Sioux, or I know I've got a Cherokee grandmother, or I know I'm Native, but how do I go about this? I need, my body is aching to know my ancestors and find a way to honor them. And this comes from people from all walks of life, all cultures and languages. I've talked to people in India with emails, all over the place. And the bottom line is, getting our DNA tested is not the issue, because my brother used to say, oh, well, it's well known. The only people who have to prove their blood is dogs and Indians and horses. And that was, again, another government way of genocide, in that we're the most intermarried group on this continent. Probably there's 70 or 80% of us that have some native blood that have no clue about it, because we're so intermarried. That's how our ancestors preserved the flame of their life to fire today in us. So sadly, if you're one of those people who knows you're belong to some kind of group or culture or Tayos that lived on this continent before the colonizers, don't sweat yourself with trying to search it out, because so many have tried and failed, and that's not the issue. We're all relatives. Mitakuye Oyasin means we are all related. We're related with the rocks and the trees and the grass and the antelope and the buffalo, but we're also related as two-legged human beings, and that is our family. And when we all get the knowingness that we know who our family is, we're all right here on this planet. Come on, people, let's start getting along with each other, right, and honoring one another and learning from each other and loving and caring about each other and helping each other. That's the beauty of this. So we don't have to do anything too technical, and it's pretty easy once you understand that love is a power greater than fear, that we have everything we need right now. We have that knowing. If we just practice those thoughts each day and be loving to ourselves and find that oneness, and I hope to share some tips and tricks in the app to do that. And then we have the energy and the radiance and our own energetic life bulb to join hands with others who are at one around that tree of life and bring it back to life within us as a human family. And once we get in alignment with the natural, simple, beautiful, refreshing, happy, thriving ways of Mother Earth, then all our other relatives, the birds and the frogs and the dolphins and the whales and the elephants, are all going to be in a much better position to care for their young ones and their families, because we're going to be nicer to them. We're not going to be taking away their habitat or ruining their families or taking a life without at least thanking that life form, whether it's a plant or an animal. Everything we eat becomes us. And yet, why doesn't Why does what I eat and you eat become two different, unique human beings once it enters our body? It's all this truth and this memory. And nature knows truth and has memory, but we have forgotten and we've been misled to believe the lie. And the lie is fear. Fear is always a liar. We don't have to run away from mountain lions today, usually. So the stress that is in our bodies all the time is creating what we're experiencing now. And it's fear behind what we're experiencing now. So all we have to do is rock it down to size, love it, love ourselves, because love can cover all that and forgive all wrongs.
Right.
And so we're all hurting, but we can heal that pain together. And that's what Indigenous healing is about, so that we can understand that it's not an impossible task to heal the entire planet if we all just wake up one morning and decide, hey, I think that's going to work. Because thoughts create emotions, which create words. Words are powerful, which create actions.
Right, right. And it is simple, but it's a different worldview, and it's time.
Yeah.
So all of those things, it's almost so simple, people think it doesn't make
They
sense.
don't, no, nobody gets it. That's why I'm the insane one. You were showing on that screen earlier that little page, and I wondered, do we have time for me to read Crazy Horse's prophecy for this
Sure.
time?
Do you want me to pull it back up?
Yeah, that'd be great. Maybe I can read it
Sure,
off
sure,
the screen
sure,
because
sure.
there's been so many synchronicities with this. I could go on for days telling you the story, and I will share some of those within the app courses too. And
Right.
eventually, I'd like to make all those app courses free, but right now I'm going to have to charge for a few so I can pay my house payment. But yeah, if you want to scroll down there, one of my people who comes to, yeah, that beautiful picture is by Paul Jordan, and he's one of the first that came to me as my cool. I have founding members, just nobody had the money to pay so far. But he's one of my core people, and he drew that beautiful picture of the tower with the feathers around it. But this is actually related to Crazy Horse. I've come to find out, but that's another story. And he said, and this is pretty famous by people who know anything about the Lakota, because we have a place in the Black Hills that our chiefs had commissioned Korjak, a famous European sculpture, to put on a mountain. It's called the Crazy Horse Memorial. And my husband used to drink a lot with Korjak while he was working, while he was alive. But anyway, another story. But Crazy Horse, this is key to this whole dream, folks. So if you want to join us around this tree of life, this is really the power behind it. Just like John Lennon's song Imagine has impressed a lot of people in my generation when I was younger. But this is from Crazy Horse, who is friends with my great-grandfather, John Grass, Watapki, and Sitting Bull, and some of the more famous Indians. He said, upon suffering beyond suffering, the Red Nation shall rise again, and it shall be a blessing for a safe world. A world filled with broken promises, selfishness, and separations, a world longing for light again. I see a time of 7 generations when all the colors of mankind will gather under the sacred tree of life, and the whole earth will become one circle. In that day, there will be those among the Lakota who will carry knowledge and understanding of unity among all living things, and the young white ones will come to those of my people and ask for this wisdom. I salute the light within your eyes, where the whole universe dwells. For when you are at that center within you, and I am that place within me, we shall be one.
Beautiful. Wow. Amazing. That's so beautiful. Thank you so much.
My question still is, how can I put that in a 30-second attention span? I'm still trying to learn how to market this in a good way and keep true to the passion of this. And yet so many people just like, okay, what's the message? Okay, I'll click on it or I won't. And so this is why I'm really going to be depending a lot on a more reflective, conscious, awakening people who still relate with somebody who's a storyteller. And some of our old Lakota elders, when they tell a story, you sat around that fire and you listened for a long time.
Well, when I've been with Grandmother Parisha, we're out of time and space. You have no idea what time it is. And you can feel the field is palpable. I mean, this is when people are aligned, they
Yeah.
are able to. That's why I'm sure the colonists were afraid of them, because it seems like magic, because they are so aligned. They know how everything works and can work with it. And we need to I want to get back to that, personally. And I think the aspect that it's loving and not, so it's service to all.
Yeah.
I believe that your dreams, your prophetic dreams, you brought in all this music and all this art and now this app, if you'll still be getting more guidance, apparently.
I certainly hope so. I can't imagine the universe putting me in this position and then saying, okay, we're out of here. You're on your
Yeah,
own.
yeah. Well,
Okay, crash burn. Done that before.
Well,
So I'm in this for the ride. I've had some
very good.
critics already say, yeah, you're not really native and you're not really this and that. And I go, whatever you want to believe, I'm fine.
Well,
The thing is, unflackable is probably more culturally
Well, I have
thing.
to say, Grandmother Parisha has white hair. She's Caucasian. She looks Irish. And
Yeah.
she grew up on the reservation, being with her grandmother. And she was beat up a lot by everyone there because they could. And so she's tough. She's tough.
There's racism in every single
Yeah,
culture, and
yeah.
where racism is in here. And so this is the biggest part of this challenge to gather like this, is that each of us have to really go deep to get whatever prejudice that we have and feelings of separateness from everybody else. I'm not part of this, or they're not part of me. No, we're all part of one another. Every time you take a bite, we are united in life. And so it's like a deep breath. It's just so relaxing and filling, and all that knowingness in every cell in our bodies resonates with this once we let it go.
Well,
And so it's really way simple, folks.
right,
Very
right.
simple. We just have to decide we're going to keep our heart and mind open and go through the process of cleansing the disease. And that's the first step of healing, is to get rid of the dis-ease. And that means pushing the pus out of it and 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 swabbing the wound with things that hurt and burn. I mean, emotional healing is no different than physical healing.
Right.
And you have to get the poison out before your body can really start building up those cells and repairing everything that it can, and it knows how to do. We're the ones stopping it up because we're holding on to this toxic dis-ease of fear. And it just has to pop open and make a huge mess in our lives for a while.
Yes.
Until we can all say, no, you can do this. Stay the course.
I want to add some things that people are saying. Principles he walked the Americas with, activating our DNA, as well as the Uluru Rock in Australia. Humans are all indigenous, planted here to steward this beautiful planet. She's written some beautiful things. And then there's Louise wrote, thank Iwi, both beloveds. And then this is Facebook user getting past the insistence on cultural perspectives and that others have to embrace our viewpoint is still one of the hindrances to our crossing those final veils. It means that we truly have to surrender everything. Perfect. Well, I think trust is the big lesson. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone, for commenting, and keep them coming if you want.
I know you guys get it. We're
Yeah.
all in this together. We're on
Well,
the
but
path.
it's trusting that it is so simple and that you can do it. Because
Yeah.
we in our culture, in our schooling, our education, our cultural training, we've been taught to look to somebody else as being the guide,
Right.
the expert.
Right.
And what happens when you accept yourself as the expert and realize that everything that's happening is for you, not against you, and become the observer of it, which is a higher dimensional perspective. So Ginger's written a couple more things. Let's see. Grandmothers
We call that
are
sovereignty, by the way, and I'm going to be talking a lot in the app about how to own your own sovereignty.
okay. Okay, so grandmothers are where all in chaos need to declare all healed.
She gets it.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you. And then she
We
said,
all have the cultures and the perspectives from wherever we were brought up and how whatever area in the earth we are, and that is so precious.
right.
You have got it because you're honoring that what you know in language and the thought perceptions is just a small little leap of a step for each of us to connect that and honor it.
What I was trying to say too is that whatever you persist, and your
Right.
analogy of infection, it's
Yeah.
a little too
It's
visual
healing.
for me, but but the
If you
idea,
don't heal, you die. Unfortunately, we all die, but
yes,
it'd be
yeah.
nice to have a thriving life until that day we return to the earth, to the
Well, the
dust and the
energy
spirit.
that we're using to resist rather than let it just pass through is a waste of energy. When you embody the good and the bad and watch everything come to you to learn and go, oh, that's still a little here. I thought I did that. But
Yeah.
you get to see more and more how you best serve. So
Yeah.
it's not about the contrast is the greediness
Yeah.
versus service. So
Yeah.
let's see.
I wanted, while you're looking that up, can I tell you all
Richard says,
that
beautiful
I'd
thing
like to
you're
give,
working on. I hope I can come in person for it. See,
I'd love
I'm
to,
telling you.
I have a free music video I made specifically for those of you who are listening today. And if you want to have me send you an email with that download, you can actually have the music video in your computer. You can use it for your meditation. You can use it while you're jogging. You can use it on Zoom calls and share it with people. It's called the White Buffalo Peace Song, but the video I kind of named, what did I name that? Something about relatives, making of relatives. And that's what we're doing here. We're relating ourselves with our Mother Earth, who is all of our mother, and then making of relatives in learning how to live on this planet in balance, harmony, abundance, and peace with all our relations in their beautiful and unique diversity and languages and places. So if you want to get a copy of that for your very own use, whatever, to spread the word and share the love, go to www.mato, M-A-T-O, Tipila, TIPILA.org. And that will take you directly to something. I hope I've put it together right until I was up this morning at 1. And that you can just put your email and your name there and hit the button. And if you get some kind of I haven't figured out the way to send you automatically the video yet. I'm still working on that technical part, but it'll happen in the next few days.
Well,
So
I just put it in the comments, so hopefully that well some of them went through. So what we'll do is we'll put it out. I'll test it.
I
But this
tested
is
yesterday. It didn't come out quite the way I wanted. So just
oh
realize I'm on a need to know basis here, people. It isn't until the 3 seconds before something's needed that it shows up. That's going to change as I get more organized, and I'm way more organized than I thought I could be at this point. But it's been a long year with learning so many things.
yes. Well, I think we're all like that, and I think we're all grieving loss at some level, and looking forward to the returning to joy, and
Yeah.
returning to community that's going to make a difference. So bless you. Thank you so much for putting
Oh,
it
thank you for
together.
listening. And all of you healers, thank you for being there. Keep doing your work with all the motherly love you can. It's fabulous. Mitakuye Oyasin. We're all related. We're all equal. Learn your sovereignty, walk in it with great bliss, best of success, right?
Right. Thank you so much. We'll make sure we get this out. And what's the best way to keep in touch with you? Is it through the Indigenous Healing website?
Yeah. Yeah, you can right now I'm just taking names. And when it's actually launched, I'll send you everybody an email, and then unknown caller, and then you will know. Welcome to my
Well, you
wacky
said
world.
it, then we will know, Carla. That's so
So
funny.
it should be launched on Apple and Google, and my tech guys tell me maybe in a couple of weeks. And so when that happens, you're all welcome to just download it on your phone and do whatever seems real when you get there.
Okay.
I'd be
Well,
glad to have you as part of my in-app community, because there's a way we can communicate with each other within the app too, and
perfect.
share your thoughts and wisdom and healing with everybody there, because we all need to work to help heal one another, and I'm certainly not in any shape to do that by myself. So I'm counting on you guys. We're going to cover the world with love and peace and balance and harmony,
Well,
and
well, we're
recognize the
finding
abundance that's here.
we're finding each other too. We're finding each other through your app, which
This
is
is why the app is here. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. You keep doing what you do, I'll do what I do, but let's join hands and hearts and make this a
exactly.
real event to shape shift human history. Wouldn't that
So,
be lovely?
so do you have a guess of when we'll all be standing around that petrified tree?
Yeah, I've had people that I've told about that say, "Is it going to be this year? What month is it going to be?" And I said, "No, we're all on divine timing." I would love for it to be sooner than later, because every day that humanity walks in toxic dis-ease and fear, we get closer to world annihilation. And really, the obvious choice is we either do this, guys and gals, and healers and moms and dads and grandparents. We either do this. What's the choice? We
Right,
continue to live in fear. It only leads to dis-ease and death. I
right,
mean, again, we're all heading for death anyway, but let's make it fun.
right, right. Well,
Maybe preserve something for 7 generations forward.
yes, yes.
Let's make a campsite cleaner than the way we found it for the next generation, so that there can be life on this planet.
Thank
So
you, Bunny. You're going to
thank
help millions of people. Thank you so much. So
my pleasure. This is a great ride for me. So
oh, thank you.
let's just
Thank
hold
you.
each other in love and
We'll do this again when you're ready, when we're ready to announce the event. Okay?
okay.
Okay.
Yes.
But
Yeah, when it
thank
comes.
you. This is exactly, I see this as exactly what we need. I've been knowing that getting back to the roots of who we really are and how to live in harmony with the earth and with ourselves and others. That's the core lesson right now.
Yeah.
And yeah, and so thank you for being a big part of this, the discovery and the realignment process. Thank you.
Well, my pleasure. I'll be singing it all the way along here. So I've got a lot of songs and their lessons to share that I hope you enjoy too. And make sure to go to matatipola.org and at least start the process for me to get you a one free music video you can
Thank you.
share. That's
Thank
just one of
you.
hundreds of songs I've got to share down
400, it said on your website, 400. Anyway, over 400. Anyway, we have to sign off. Thank you, Bunny. We'll be back. We'll do this again. Okay?
My pleasure. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Mitakuye Oyasin.